Hey guys, it's Christmas. Well, not quite, but close enough. So, we at The Wrap are taking a break for a few weeks and we'll be back in the new year. Before we go, though, we thought we'd catch you up on the big news that former President Jacob Zuma may be heading back to jail, plus some important COVID developments that you do need to be aware of, and what to watch and read as you hopefully also take a break after another tough pandemic year. So, let's dive into your weekly update of empowering and easy to understand news brought to you by myself, Verashni Pillay, and the Explain.coza team. In our take today, we're looking at following the facts and not the fakes. The pandemic did not just teach us that pineapple beer was a thing. It also put disinformation and misinformation in the spotlight, from fake COVID news doing the rounds to conspiracy theories around vaccines. Do we need to remind you that Bill Gates is not, in fact, using vaccines to track you? Take, for example, former Chief Justice Mogoeng. He recently claimed that he cured a couple of HIV and AIDS by praying. It's not the first time he made such a frankly dangerous claim. Last year, he said that if any vaccine was, quote, of the devil, close quote, it should be destroyed in God's name. Having faith is good, but it is not synonymous with poo-pooing science, and Mogoeng was taken to task for his comments. It's deeply damaging when prominent, influential figures with powerful platforms make misleading statements. It also increases the risk that the public will believe false information and eschew life-saving interventions. That's why, as The Wrap goes on a break for a few weeks, we thought we'd leave you with these handy tips about questions to ask when you receive a message from that estranged uncle about how bad things are in South Africa, or from that cousin who only spews conspiracy theories. With thanks to Africa Check, here's how you can separate fact from fiction. Firstly, ask who wrote it. Secondly, can you verify the claims with supporting links to sources? Thirdly, does the information make you feel scared or angry? These messages and warnings often prey on our emotions, so we'll share the information with others. Don't do this without ensuring that it's real. Fourth, be careful of messages that include shocking images, pictures, or audio, as these could have been edited or taken from a different time to trick us into believing fake news. And finally, if you're still not sure, check online to see if the message is true or has been flagged as fake news. You can use sources like africacheck.org or snopes.com to verify your information. Stay safe out there on the social media streets, fam. On to this week's big story. It's today's huge news. Jacob Zuma. Remember the controversial decision to release former President Jacob Zuma from prison on medical parole that was taken back in September? At the time, he had served just 58 days of his 15-month jail sentence. That's just 2 months for refusing to testify at the State Capture Commission. Today, a judge declared the decision unlawful, and the former president may spend his Christmas behind bars after all. The time he spent on medical parole does not count towards his sentence, so he still has 13 months to go. The Gauteng High Court in Pretoria made the ruling after the Democratic Alliance and the Helen Suzman Foundation went to court over the matter. Now, former National Commissioner of Correctional Services Arthur Fraser, a Zuma ally, made the initial decision to release Zuma against the recommendations of the Medical Parole Board, who had denied parole. Today's ruling made it clear that the board should be independent and that the commissioner does not have the power to override his decisions on medical parole. Both Fraser and Zuma must now pay the costs of those who brought the application. Now, the director of the Helen Suzman Foundation, Francis Antony, says, "I don't think people should regard this as a vindictive matter. It is not. I take no great pleasure in any 79-year-old man going to jail. It's a victory simply for the rule of law." Now, the Jacob Foundation tweeted this afternoon that Zuma's legal team had just delivered his application for leave to appeal. So they're probably going to do that Stalingrad thing all over again, and he might not actually go to jail immediately. The ruling comes just as Zuma added the title of author to his CV. On the 11th of December, he released a book telling his side of the story. It's called Jacob Zuma Speaks and documents what he went through during his 9 years as president. The Jacob Zuma Foundation held a virtual book launch over the weekend, and books were sold out of a car boot at a McDonald's in Sandton. We're serious about this. According to a representative of the Jacob Zuma Foundation, 100 books were sold in about 20 minutes. An autographed copy was sold for 1,000 Rand, and the money will go towards Zuma's legal fees. Turns out he's going to need it sooner than he thought. Onto your briefs, keeping up with COVID-19. Here's everything you need to know about the spiky little devil in our midst. Don't panic, Justice Mogoeng, it's a metaphor. Firstly, yesterday the UK removed South Africa and 10 other countries from its travel red list. This means visiting friends and family from the UK won't have to fork out over 50,000 rand to quarantine on their return. We're hoping that this will give our economy some reprieve. The UK faced a backlash over red listing South Africa and others, given that the new variant is spreading rapidly there too, and it looks like they were persuaded. Secondly, President Cyril Ramaphosa has tested positive for COVID after attending F.W. de Klerk's memorial service in Cape Town over the weekend. We're surprised that Ramaphosa has managed to stay safe all this time, given the number of gatherings and trips on his itinerary, but we're happy to hear that he's recovering well, according to the minister in the presidency, and is in good spirits. Thirdly, it seems like every fifth person you know has COVID. It's because cases driven by the Omicron variant are rising rapidly. Many provinces are entering into the fourth wave. The good news is that those who are getting infected are reporting mild symptoms, and our hospitals are quieter than in previous waves. The bad news is that results from a preliminary South African study on the Pfizer vaccine's effectiveness against Omicron suggests that it's less effective at keeping people out of hospital than it was during the Delta-driven third wave. Between 15th November and 7 December, people who had received 2 doses of the shot had a 70% chance of avoiding hospitalization, which was down from 93% during the previous Delta wave. This means we can expect tighter restrictions soon, with a focus on the size of gatherings, curfews, and most likely alcohol sales. So, once again, stock up soon. And lastly, how annoying is it that you have to shell out nearly $1,000 every time you need to get tested? Thankfully, the price of COVID-19 PCR tests in private laboratories, Lancet and Ampeth, have been reduced from 850 Rand per test to 500 Rand after the Competition Commission intervened. The Commission found that private laboratories exploited consumers by earning excessive profits on essential products or services, Daily Maverick reported. Pretty infuriating. Finally, dear reader, the most important thing you need to know is that you have to keep your guard up, as exhausting as that is the fourth time around. While we may have seen worse before when it comes to the virus, and you may be vaccinated this time around, you can still put yourself and others at serious risk. If you're going to be out socializing, remember to wear your mask, keep your distance, and wash those hands often. Next up on our brief and easy to read Zondo summary, yes please. Deputy Chief Justice Raymond Zondo probably won't have a restful festive season. He's got less than a month to complete and submit the highly anticipated report on his findings from the Commission of Inquiry into State Capture. His D-Day is 1 January 2022, after he was granted more extensions than a first-year humanities student. The inquiry, which cost South Africa almost 1 billion rand and lasted a grueling 3 years, heard testimony from key figures who were known to be involved in or who witnessed the state capture project orchestrated by the infamous Gupta family and aided by Zuma and co. The commission also heard from investigator Paul Holden and former ANC MP Andrew Feinstein, who traced the Gupta's financial statements and found that they indirectly stole nearly 50 billion rand from South Africa. It's going to be one hell of a report, full of legal terms, jargons, and perhaps unfamiliar names when it finally lands. So thankfully, the Human Sciences Research Council has advocated for the Commission's lawyers to create a short, easy-to-read version for public consumption. We suggest you look out for it and that you brace yourself for the findings and arm yourself with the details to continue holding power to account. On to some international news. New Zealand to ban cigarettes for future generations. In huge public health news, New Zealand's government has announced that anyone born after 2008 will not be able to buy cigarettes or tobacco products in their future lifetime under a law expected to be enacted next year. That covers people under 15 and would raise the smoking age year by year until it covers the entire population. The country aims to reduce its national smoking rate to 5% by 2025 and to eventually eradicate it altogether. Imagine that, a smoke-free country. New Zealand's daily smoking rates have been dropping over time, down to 11.6% in 2018 from 18% a decade earlier, The Guardian reported. But there is a racial difference. Smoking rates for Maori and Pacifica were far higher than among their fellow citizens of European descent. It's 29% for Maori and 18% for Pacifica. The government has now introduced major tobacco controls, including limiting where cigarettes can be sold and reducing stores to under 500 from about 8,000 where one can legally buy cigarettes. The World Health Organization estimates that 8 billion people will die of smoking-related causes this century, but banning tobacco sales, despite the clear public health benefits, has always been a virtual non-starter of an argument globally. Arguments against it often centre on civil liberties and fears of increased smuggling, the New York Times reported. New Zealand's government acknowledged warnings about the black market for tobacco, which currently makes up at least 10% of tobacco sales in the country, saying that customs will need more resources to enforce border control. But for now, it seems that they have won the public health fight over the civil liberties one. Moving on, all hail to our superhero scientists. They say not all heroes wear capes, and it's true. Today's heroes wear lab coats, gloves, and safety glasses. We're talking about the world's remarkable scientists. When South Africans first heard about a mysterious virus in Wuhan, China in early 2020, scientists had already identified and sorted the entire genome of the coronavirus and posted it online. 2 weeks later, designs for an antidote or vaccine were already being keyed into machines to, quote, unlock a world that had not even locked down yet, as Times magazine put it. That's why the American magazine named scientists as Heroes of the Year. It featured South African-bred boykie billionaire Elon Musk on the cover as Person of the Year. The magazine put the spotlight on 4 scientists. These were hailed for their sacrifice and hard work in understanding the virus and developing a vaccine. Their names are Kismikia Kobe, Barney Graham, Caitlin Carrico, and Drew Weissman. The magazine dubbed them the miracle workers. We couldn't agree more. Closer to home, our own scientists discovered the Omicron variant and worked hard to help the public understand the complexities of COVID. We're proud of Professor Salim Abdul Karim, Dr. Shabi Mahdi, Professor Glenda Gray, Professor Tulio de Oliveira, and many others. They have driven discovery, research, and discussions about vaccine equity, representing South Africa on the global stage with distinction, expertise, and humility. Staying on medical news, a medical illustration of a black fetus has been doing the rounds on social media, and it's the first of its kind. It was created by a Nigerian neurosurgery student and medical illustrator who said he noticed that the patients in medical diagrams are always depicted as white, so he decided to change that. In a tweet, he said, "I'm black. Black is beautiful. Diversity in medical illustration." He said he was overwhelmed by the positive responses, saying it was amazing to see how good people felt about it. People could see themselves in the drawing. We want to thank him for bringing much-needed diversity to medical illustrations. On to some environmental news. The battle over Shell's Wild Coast plans continues. Despite efforts from environmental activists that we told you about previously, energy company Shell is going ahead with its seismic survey along the Wild Coast in the Eastern Cape. The survey, which seeks to detect and extract oil in the mineral-rich area, will use sound waves which could potentially harm marine life, especially whales and dolphins, who rely on acoustics to communicate. Shell says it will conduct the survey with minimal harm. We told you that environmental lawyers and human rights organizations filed an urgent interdict at the 11th hour to stop the survey from going ahead at the start of the month. They managed to put a temporary span in the works, but the court dismissed the application, saying the impact, as explained by the organizations, was speculative at best. But environmentalists are not backing down, and this time they have an army of support from community members, environmentalists, and marine experts to stop the 5-month-long survey from taking place. They're headed to the Makanda High Court on Friday, 17th of December. On to some South African news. Lalela has no regrets after Israel controversy. We told you before that the Miss South Africa organization and Miss South Africa 2021 herself, Lalela Mswane, was set to compete in the Miss Universe pageant in Israel this year. This despite criticism from activists, the public, and even the South African government that she would be supporting what Human Rights Watch has labeled an apartheid state guilty of gross human rights violations against Palestinians. On Sunday, the pageant was held in Eilat in Israel. Mswane finished third, behind winner Miss India Hernaz Sandhu and first runner-up Miss Paraguay Nadia Ferreira. Now, Mswane used the pageant as an opportunity to speak about cancel culture, saying, "I believe in cancel culture. In the same breath, I believe in redemption culture and hoping the person has matured, learned, and done better. Hope they do better and are redeemed. I do believe they can grow and should be given the gap to do that." Her supporters have called on the Minister of Arts and Culture to apologize to Mswane for leaving her in the cold without government support. Political analyst Lebogang Peko took to Twitter to praise Mswane for her resilience. She she called on government. Rather, she called out the South African government for its inconsistent policy position on Israel, and she cited the government's silence when South Africa's rugby sevens team, the Blitzbokke, attended a training camp with Israel's sevens rugby team in Stellenbosch just last December. Now, earlier last week, Mswane told the Jerusalem Post that she had no regrets about competing in the pageant. She said, "If I had not come to Israel to compete in the Miss Universe pageant, I think I would have regretted it for the rest of my life," she said. And finally, what to read and watch. If you're planning to stay indoors these holidays, thanks COVID, then you're probably looking for some hot entertainment to keep you occupied. Maybe this is the year you move away from holiday favorites like Home Alone or Tyler Perry's A Midday Christmas and try some of the quality local entertainment on offer. Let's get to it. What to watch. Season 2 of South Africa's hilarious comedy How to Ruin Christmas is out on Netflix. If you missed it last year, you may want to watch the short series about a super chaotic black South African family facing a chain of hilarious events during a family reunion. The death at a funeral, but funnier. The series stars Busi Lurai, Tando Tebete, and Clementine Mosimane, and the second season is said to be even better than the first. If you're looking for drama, then season 2 of Blood and Water on Netflix would be a good option too. The story revolves around upper-class high school students with a spotlight on Puleng Khumalo, who goes on search to find her biological sister who was kidnapped as a baby. She unravels sketchy information while facing other typical teenage problems, and it's damn riveting. Think of it as a grittier African Gossip Girl. You can also check out Kings of Joburg and last year's award-winning docu, My Octopus Teacher, if you have not seen it already. For movies, take a look at romantic drama Happiness Ever After, filmed in Johannesburg, about 3 black women navigating love, life, and sisterhood, or Seriously Single, starring SAFTA Golden Horn winner Fulu Ngovani and comedian Tumi Maroke. Both are on Netflix. Plus, Doctor and comedian Riyad Musa's new material was released in some cinemas in October, but you can watch its prequel material on Netflix too. Finally, what to read. Africa's literary canon is rich, so you may not know where to start. We love the Conversations list of 5 African books you should read before you die as a primer to get you started on African fiction. That list is Chinua Achebe, Things Fall Apart, Ngugi wa Thiong'o, Petals of Blood, Ayikwai Arma, The Beautiful Ones Are Not Yet Born, Tsitsi Dangaremba, Nervous Conditions, and Bessie Head's Maru. If you want to read more about that, check out the link in the description below. That's it from us at The Wrap, an award-winning product of Explain.co.za, simple news summaries for busy people. The Wrap is sponsored by Explain's agency division. We specialize in content marketing for purpose-driven organizations, often with a pan-African reach. Mail info@explain.co.za for a quote. Remember to share the love, tell your friends to sign up for the updates at explain.co.za/subscribe. Till next year, goodbye from the team.